Welcome to week 4. If you've got this far, you've done well. Just 2 weeks to go. This week we're going to be looking at tree-based methods. We're going to start off with decision trees, move on to random forests, and then on to gradient boosting. That sounds like quite a lot, but actually all these methods are related to each other, and now that you're used to the H2O API, you're going to find it really simple to implement these methods. I am hoping, however, to look also at CatBoost and LightGBM, which don't fall within the H2O world, but they're really worth looking at. Once we're done with that, that just leaves week 6, where we'll do a few things on model interpretability, and maybe a little bit more, if we have time. Before we dive into tree-based methods, though, I do feel I need to show you the famous learning diagram, which was put together by Yasser Abu Mustafa. Yasser Abu Mustafa was probably one of the first big names to give online lecture courses on machine learning. He's based out of Caltech, and you can still get his lectures online. They're absolutely brilliant. They're probably the clearest lectures that I've ever come across, so I strongly recommend that, maybe after this course when you have a bit more time. This is his diagram. Let's just have a look at what's going on. We have real life somewhere. And the reason we're doing machine learning is because we're interested in creating a model that can do some form of prediction based on a real life problem. That might be predicting fraud, car accidents, but it might also be disease or something in the financial markets. There are a million different bits of real life that you might be interested in trying to predict. And we've talked previously about the fact that we'll imagine that there's an unknown target function which takes the inputs which are available and maps that to the outcome that we're interested in predicting. Real life actually might have a lot more inputs available to it than we do. We don't have every single piece of information that causes things to happen in real life, but we've made an effort to collect as much as we can, and we end up with training examples where we have the features that we do know and the outcome. The whole of supervised learning is about using training examples to try and approximate the real life function. We've talked briefly about the fact that in order to get the best approximation to the function, sometimes the most important thing is simply to get more examples or more features. If you are a data scientist, it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend ages and ages and ages trying to tune all kinds of fancy learning algorithms where you simply don't have enough information in the first place. Now, given that we do have our training examples, and we're going to stick with them for the time being and the features that we have in there, how are we going to go about approximating the target function? Well, the first thing we do is we choose a hypothesis set. The set of all possible models that we might be interested in. So far we've done a linear regression. So our hypothesis set is the set of all possible linear models. And out of all possible linear models, we have to fit the one that best approximates the real life function. We spent some time explaining that that's going to be pretty difficult unless you're really careful with your features. For example, if you have a numeric feature, you'd probably best chunk it up into linear splines or add some polynomial features so there is some chance of approximating real life, because real life might not be linear in your numeric features. But assuming you've done that and you have added whatever features you can to your model, you now have to find some way to choose beta 0, beta 1 and all the other betas which best approximate your real life function, and you do that using a learning algorithm. What is the learning algorithm for linear regression? Well, basically, I would say it's gradient descent. We certainly added a penalty to the loss function that we were trying to penalize. So you could say the algorithm is gradient descent plus a penalty on the loss function. And we could then go into a little bit more detail about what form of gradient descent was being used and how we minimized the loss function plus penalty. Finally, your algorithm learns from the data what is the best model in your hypothesis set, and it outputs a final hypothesis, G, which of course is a member of your hypothesis set. Although we've said that one of the most important things to do is to get as much data and as many features as you can, where we are right now in this course is it's about time to think more deeply about our hypothesis set. The set of all linear models is a great place to be, but we can do better than that by introducing new hypothesis sets, which include not just linear models, but also tree-based models. Tree-based models have advantages and disadvantages over linear models, but in general they're more flexible, and if we can avoid overfitting the tree-based model to our training data, we can hopefully end up with a really powerful model. That's exactly what random forests and gradient boosting do. Using them, we can end up with something which is hopefully more powerful than what we have done so far. I'd strongly recommend you watch some of the original videos when you have time. He builds up this learning diagram over about 3 or 4 lectures, and by the end it looks a lot more complicated than this, with bits of stuff over here, but it's all very well explained there.